Croeso, hello, welcome to Rob, Ryan, Red, the Wrexham podcast brought to you in association with Red Tent People Development. On today's episode, we'll look back at the Wycombe win, take a look at the title race after some midweek matches, and of course, look ahead to the tantalising weekend clash with Stockport County. All that and more on today's episode of Rob, Ryan, Red.
Rob, Ryan, Red.
No, Nath, only one place to start this week. That is Wycombe at the weekend. A match that, put into perspective, I suppose, football as a sport. It pales in comparison to your own health. And we were both there as the medical emergency unfolded in the away end. I know it goes without saying that our well wishes go to everyone affected by that and impacted by it. It was very distressing as well to see young families in the away end, people who obviously felt so helpless and didn't really know what to do. I want to say a massive thank you to Wycombe Wanderers, to the staff, to the players, to everyone in the stadium that day, to the medical personnel who responded as well, because, it was a very just awful moment, and the game could have been stopped, could have been halted. We were kept as well informed, I think, as you could be in those situations. And yeah, it's for me, Nathan, it was quite an alien experience. I can't recollect ever sort of being in a stadium where that's happened, and particularly not when I've been sort of in attendance as a fan either.
Yeah, I've never experienced anything like that. It was incredibly eerie, and so many elements of it. I just want to echo your thoughts. I thought Wycombe responded exemplary, as you would hope they would be able to, but I still don't want to undervalue the speed at which they operated and the care which they showed the fan. And I would expect nothing less for a home or away fan, but you do start to worry. And not about the football. I'd almost just blanked out the first 5 minutes, whatever it was. That was irrelevant at that point. It was all about, this could be a very, very tragic tale that, I don't want to have to reflect on really, but we're all having to face the reality that this is a very serious and grave situation. You see fans being moved out of the stands. They were using flags and just kind of any banner they could to deliver a shield, whatever you'd call it, Rich, a kind of privacy shield, a privacy or box that they put around the individual. I mean, the individual was on the ground for what felt like 7 or 8 minutes, just not being moved, really being tended to, getting CPR and whatnot. Obviously, we couldn't see the rest of it, but to hear, I think as well in those kind of situations, looking back, one of the most frustrating things, I'm not pointing fingers at anyone in particular, but the Chinese whispers about the person and their actual condition and everything, so unhelpful in situations like that. And also,
yeah.
I think that's
just sadly sort of human nature, isn't it?
I get
if
that.
There's like an emergency on your road, if the blue lights are on your road, you see the curtains twitch and stuff. And I think particularly in the football ground, particularly where some supporters are also drunk, you've got to bear that in mind as well.
I totally get that, but I'm talking about stewards passing on messages that the fan hasn't made it, and then the fan has made it, and it's a scary time for the individual, obviously, and anyone connected to the individual, and all the fans. And dare I say, it was actually, there was a few people behind me, and behind you. I was with you for the second half, and there was an elderly gentleman with his son, and I think some other siblings or friends and partners and whatnot. And his wife was desperately trying to get in contact with him because there'd been word that sort of an elderly gentleman in the Wrexham end had this medical emergency, and you can just imagine not being at Wycombe and trying to get in touch with people. That a lot of people didn't have signal around me. I was one of those people, and when I did get it back, similar. It was
Yeah, I mean, similar. My mum sent me a message saying, "Are you okay?" Just as the match was going on. Not going to get into how Julie was watching the game during the blackout, but that's irrelevant.
I had a few people the same, Rich. I had people at work, my parents, and it's not about us. And I do want to quickly read some of Rob McElhenney's messages, because he was really gushing in praise for Wycombe. And, his first message after the game was, we are all so proud of the lads and their massive win, which we'll get onto the actual win shortly. But our hearts go out to our supporter who was rushed to hospital, wishing them the best of recoveries up the town. That was his first one. Wycombe then put their own message out. Our thoughts and best wishes are with the Wrexham supporter who was taken ill during the game. We wish him all the best for his recovery. To which Rob replied, class club and class supporters, thank you, Wycombe Wanderers. The respect and kindness shown will not be forgotten. And then the following day, as we got a bit more detail, Rob added on the situation. As more information comes to light, it's becoming even more apparent that our supporters, Wycombe staff and Wycombe supporters work together to save someone's life. We cannot thank you enough. Wycombe, what a brilliant show of humanity. You are a beautiful organisation. Now, you obviously get a lot of the kind of trolls online that say, ugh, this is sycophantic, get this out of football. But you know what? I think Rob and Ryan have shown that humanity towards Wrexham can go a long way. Look at Dorking when they were very gracious, putting money behind the bar for Wrexham. And when they came up, they were treated like kings, Mark White and co. I have no doubt that if we cross paths with Wycombe again, whether that's in the Championship, whether that's in League One, whatever the case may be, I can well imagine Rob and Ryan would be looking to roll out the red carpet for Wycombe and their staff because they saved a Wrexham fan's life. And, the football, I think, we get a lot of flack and we get so invested in the games, Rich, that you actually realise, and you've said this before, it's like what's the famous quote? It's the most important of all the unimportant things in life. It is. It really is.
Yeah, again, we talk about it, I think, every single week, and it also comes back to the be grateful how far Wrexham have come sort of vibe, because I think we've said this since the National League days, is if Wrexham are winning in front of a packed away end or packed Kairos on a Saturday, it doesn't really matter who they're playing. Do you know what I mean? That's football in that regard. And yeah, particularly when you have these sort of moments as well, it makes you think of your family, and particularly I know we both go to matches with our parents and stuff, and it just really does hammer home that, for 70 minutes I was getting fuming. I was saying, this is dreadful from Parky, I can't watch this. And then it's like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter. If we were 2-3-0 down, doesn't matter. If we're 3-4-0 up, does not matter whatsoever. It pales in insignificance. And again, thankfully, maybe from our own sadistic point of view, the game was able to go ahead. But if the game had been finished there and then, I wouldn't have been complaining. I wouldn't be saying, I want my money back, whatever. It'd be like, of course, that's fine. If that was me in that situation, so one of my loved ones, someone who I was close to, of course, I'd want the same to be given to them, really. So yeah, again, thank you very much to Wycombe. Only complaint is, why did they win on Tuesday night, Nathan? Because Saturday, again, we have to talk about the football. The football.
Yes.
The peculiar quirk of this season, and particularly the end now of this campaign, is it's all about results. I thought it was, again, another uninspiring performance from both sides, really, on Saturday. Very similar to that Huddersfield game. Could have gone either way. Very similar to some games where we've dropped points as well, where I just thought it was a very bad game of football. We made some big saves at our end. Arthur's stop after the restart was phenomenal. And then, the goal as well, which was... The funny thing about the goal was, Nath, if social media didn't exist and you've got to wait sort of to watch the highlights. Remember, I'm not even talking about the old days, but when I was sort of growing up watching football in the early 2000s, even 2010s, we just didn't have smartphones. You didn't really have clips available to watch straight away. From where I stood in the away end, I thought it was Van Basten-esque. I thought it was like the sweetest left-footed volley that's curled into the top corner. And, if I in the pub after the game and stuff, I would have been saying, that this is the best goal you've ever seen in your life. But as soon as you sort of see the clips, it was similar to that Paul Mullin back heel. Was that against Dorking or Aldershot or someone?
Aldershot.
It's actually no goal, but it's
a great finish though from Sam. It's a great finish from Sam Smith.
Yeah.
Stephen Fletcher. I want to say kudos to Stephen Fletcher. He changed the game when he came on for me, and that I think he's perfect in that role he's in. He's perfectly cast, and Sam Smith worked his absolute backside off. And I don't know what I loved more. I don't know whether I loved the finish more, the energy with which he put into his celebration, the kind of gladiatorial roar he let out, which you can see on our TikTok, and it's got over 1 million views, winding up every opposition fan. So one of the comments on that quickly said that Wrexham are the definition of an oil club, to which the replies to that were saying that no money, no oil goes through Wrexham, and To which they replied and said, "No, an oil club is just that's just what we say for a rich club." To which they got shouted down by a lot of Wrexham fans. So if you were one of them, thank you very much.
You'd also
But
say there's a lot richer clubs than Wrexham, so by definition they're not an oil club.
apparently
And they actually beat a team who are worth more money than them on Saturday.
we're the Man City apparently of the EFL, which is quite
But
funny.
how can we beat Man City if Man City are the definition of the oil club?
Yeah,
how are we the definition of the oil club if we're the Man City?
And have we forgot Birmingham spent whatever? Anyway,
yeah.
Sam Smith,
I love being the villain. It's great.
Sam Smith worked his absolute tail off, and okay, but running is the bare minimum you expect of every player, but he doesn't give defenders a moment's peace. He's a good finisher. You saw that. I mean, he hit the post, and the keeper then went and got a cap because the keeper couldn't see. He deserved his goal. Was my man of the match, probably maybe second to Max. He was up there, right up there, and. Look, we're going to get onto strikers towards the end about who's going to fire us over the line. Sam Smith, gem of a pickup, proper player, proper celebration, and to come out and go over to that side where the medical emergency had happened and to give the heart celebration, I thought, yeah, touch of class, as they would say.
I also think on Sam Smith, he's a player I kind of miss. I just sort of misprofiled him when we signed him. I thought he is just this archetypal sort of big man, the improvement on Palmer, but he's kind of like Palmer and Mullen rolled into one. You get the physicality and a bit of the height that Palmer would offer, but he runs the channels, he pesters defenders like Paul Mullen does. And I actually am now part of, I know, like I say, we'll get on to strikers later, but I'm kind of in the mindset that I really don't think Smith and Mullen would work together because they both occupy the same sort of space anyway. Which,
can we just say about... You've all seen it now, but I mean, it's right in front of us, Rich. That is a penalty on Sam Smith. I know it doesn't come down to it, but, Rex goal difference is another topic for later, but that is a penalty.
But we were speaking... the one that we should have conceded one at Huddersfield, no? Was there one at Huddersfield? Or in a recent game, I seem to think there was a penalty that we got away with.
Oh, almost certainly. I just block all them out. I block them out. I refuse to hold on to any decisions that have gone in our favour, Rich. But, I mean, Sam Smith, if you notice as well, I don't even think... Because the thing with Mullen is Mullen's been accused in the past, hasn't he, of going down a bit too easy and therefore reputationally doesn't get stuff. Sam Smith's getting absolutely KO'd as he goes to ground. Yeah. I mean, he's getting knocked about left and right, and he's a big lad as well. And I don't know what it is. And I saw a few Reading fans saying that, it was like this for us. He never got anything. He never got any of the decisions, and he was getting like bulldozed. I don't get it.
No, well, that was when I was watching. No, it was the Reading game. Sorry, the penalty in the was it the penalty in the Reading game? The other way round that we complained was soft.
Oh yes, yeah. On the line.
Do you know what I mean? These things happen. But yeah, when I was watching the commentary, the Reading match, I actually watched it via the Reading channel rather than the Wrexham channel. No offense to Andy and I think Andy, Mia, and Mark did that one, but I listened to the Reading one. They had Glenn Little on co-coms.
Right, lovely.
And they basically said, look, there is this running theme that when Sam Smith played for Reading, they counted there was about 10 or 12 instances a season where they thought he should have had a penalty for Reading, but it was this almost running joke that he never got a penalty. And they were saying, wouldn't it be typical Reading if Sam Smith turned up here today and got a penalty for Wrexham because he never got one for them. And yeah, again, I think that's part of the kind of misprofile because he's this big physical specimen up front. He maybe doesn't get treated the way as other strikers do. But if you look at that incident, if that happens anywhere else on the pitch or it happens against a goalkeeper, of course that's a foul. And it is this perverse, weird rule sort of switch that you see so often in football, don't you? That it's such a common trope of a co-commentator usually. If that happens elsewhere on the pitch, it's a free kick. Why is it not the same in the box? And there's usually this sort of argument, well, it's got to be exceptional for it to be a penalty. But of course that's a spot kick. And that is a point in the game where it can give you that, that lead earlier, and who knows how it transpires then. And particularly it's like with goal difference, because against Wycombe, that was a direct opportunity to bolster our own and to really hurt and harm theirs. A 1-0 win's still fantastic. But yeah, I think it's going to be a common theme of Smith's time at Wrexham. I think he is just a player who, I'm not sure if he's got a past sort of perception and relationship with these referees where they just sort of think, oh, this guy might be looking for a penalty in games. But it just seems like we're going to be irritated a lot by penalty calls regarding Smith that maybe just won't go our way.
Enjoy the silence.
Rich, to pick it back up, I was going to just come back in with an email that we got from Max, who first off started off with a disclaimer that he doesn't actually count as a proper Wrexham fan, which I'm going to rubbish because everybody's a fan, new or old. But he was talking about that how he was really pleased that Wrexham used the dark arts against Wycombe to see the game out. We're a bit more cynical after taking the lead. He was saying that it's been so frustrating to see them being naive in that semi-final against Peterborough. And that was a kind of really low point in terms of the defending after conceding the first goal. Not running down to the corner when they could have. You're thinking of Charlton when we had it in the corner, we lose it, and then they go break down the other end and have a penalty. Not taking a short corner or free kick, sometimes going for goal. He remembers Marriott and Mendy making poor choices in certain games that they've played, and that's what's cost them. So he thinks that Wrexham have learned a lesson, or based on what he saw at Wycombe. And he also said that now that Parkinson has settled on Smith and Rodriguez up front, it creates a bit of a conundrum. Because previously he felt any position was up for grabs with players coming in and out of the squad, even the goalkeepers. But from the outside, that seemed to do wonders for the group dynamic, competitiveness, and overall togetherness. But now it feels like we have at least two in Palmer and Mullen, if not more strikers who are getting frustrated because they know they're not going to get a sniff. It's a tough situation. You can't fault Smith, as we've just been talking about in the first segment. His effort, physicality, running, sharpness when he gets half a chance. And of course, Fletcher's done incredibly well as a super sub. Role. That said, I reckon Parker should rotate the other forwards in Rodriguez's position from now on, basically saying score or assist, and he's saying the team, if not, the next guy in line will get a chance. There's another thought on there, but quickly, Rich, I was going to say you've played up front, but you haven't played up front for Wrexham. But if you knew it was score or assist or you're out,
no, it's too binary.
That I feel like that creates a level of fear and not a level of competition. I think that you're constantly looking over your shoulder going, bloody hell, I've been given Stockport at home. I'll be out and Palmer will get, who's after that, Exeter away. And, oh, God, Palmer hasn't done it. So Marriott's got Cambridge away. And it's like, well, hang on, I'd rather be playing Cambridge because I'll probably score. And I think that's a little bit too... I know what you mean. And I do think goal difference is important. And we need to score more goals than we are. We need to win games. But we need to try and score more goals because you just never know. If it comes down and we miss out on goal difference, I would have zero faith in us in the playoffs then. It'd be too emotionally exhausting. It would be. I honestly, if we lost out on goal difference, I think we'd be mentally shot. And so to answer Max's question, whether you want to stick with Rodriguez or not, Rich, is basically my question. And if you don't, have you got someone you want to stick with for the? Because there's only 9 games to go now. It's not long.
No, it's all about trust now. Phil Parkinson will play the team that he trusts to get the job done, and he trusts Sam Smith and Jay Rodriguez. I do think there might be 1 or 2 games where there is a change right towards the end, just for fresh legs, just because you've got quite a few sort of Tuesday Saturdays in line for that Cambridge one, where you might get Marriott and Smith. But I think we've seen the pattern now. We've seen the blueprint. Whether you want to criticise it or not, it worked. I know the goal comes when Fletcher's on the pitch, but what is the quirk of Wrexham now? And it's a really difficult buy-in because obviously we want to see goals, we want to see us winning games 2 or 3-0. But the kind of deal we've got at the moment is Phil Parkinson is basically sort of saying, I'm not going to start my best 2 players because I need Fletcher to be at his optimum for the last 20 minutes. And every time Fletcher does something, you can go on social media and the question is, why is Fletcher not starting? Why is Fletcher not starting? And we said last week with City, look, you need him to be at his optimum for the last 20 minutes. The games he started, he has just not had that impact. I know people will look back to, was it that Crewe or the Barrow game where was that Barrow hat-trick or something maybe?
Barrow at home, that was a long time ago though.
That's a long time ago, league below. But you need to have Fletcher at his optimum for the last 20 minutes. And the key reason he is because Rodriguez has helped wear the defence down in the first 70 minutes. And that kind of is our game plan right now. It's having the game in the balance so that you can bring your super sub on to have an impact where it actually is meaningful. And, it's a war of attrition before then. It's about being in the match with the last 20 minutes. Again, like the Wycombe match, I didn't enjoy it as a spectacle until, after the third restart, really. Second restart. But the reason we were able to win it is because we didn't almost set up shop to go and win it. We just sort of played the percentages as Phil Parkinson does, and it was just about being in the game for the last 20 minutes because we've got something that they've not got, and it's that guy. I know they've got Sam Vokes, who's similar to Fletcher, but just doesn't quite maybe have the goal threat that Fletcher does. He's as a Welsh football fan, I love Sam Vokes as well. That's fair enough. But I think that is just the game plan for some of these matches. And it wouldn't surprise me. Stockport might be a bit different because we're at home, but similarly, we could play awful. It could be horrible to watch for 70 minutes. But as long as we're in it with 20 minutes left, that's kind of when you then take those risks. And that is just Phil Parkinson's football.
Yeah.
And I think for the rest of the season, that is what we'll see. And that is what we'll see if we get promoted as well. Because you've got to be sensible.
Rich, I can't speak for everyone, but a lot of the people I spoke to at Wycombe, are turning on the style of football. I be positive. Like, it's working and it is attritional. But I think if you ask a lot of the fans that are at the matches and you say, what do you think? I mean, people can't stop moaning about, how it's so.
But do you want to become Luke Williams? Do you want to become Notts County?
No,
do you
and that's
want to be a team who plays nice football but doesn't win like Wrexham do? Look at Wrexham's record under Phil Parkinson. I think it is. What do you want?
But that's what I've said to you
previously. What do you want when you go to watch Wrexham?
That's
do you
what
want entertainment or do you want winning football?
Right, and that's what I said to you previously, that it's just a grind now. It's just about results. The ends justify the means. So if Wrexham get over the line and go up, Phil Parkinson, the statue's probably already been commissioned. It's already on the way. You crumble, you lose out in the playoffs. It's still been a very good season, so maybe you get a bit of grace, but then you start next season and it's the same type of football. Suddenly people will turn fast. It's a very fickle game. High-level sport is very, very fickle. 1 minute you're the hero, 1 minute you're not. I know recently a fan at a home game directly confronted Parkinson about his substitutions. A game we were drawing or losing. I cannot remember the game now for the life of me, but I mean, the fan actually confronted Parkinson. Parkinson was very annoyed and agitated, and at the end apparently wanted an apology. This was the story, how the story went. I don't know whether he got it off the fan or not, but the stakes are incredibly high right now, and I think we are going to see, for a lot of these games, we are going to see contain for about 65 minutes, and that's not shutting up shop, but that's just keeping it tight. Matty James, Dobson, Rathbone, maybe McLean is more defensively minded. Rodriguez isn't a huge goal threat, but we're all very solid and compact. And you're just going to try and get 1-2 moments, and you'll win it with that. And you'll win 1-0, and you'll, clean sheets galore. We're nearly approaching 20 clean sheets in the season now, 18 or something we're on now. Another one at Wycombe. You've got games at Exeter. You'll want Exeter to come onto you and try and spring on the counter. I just think, and I was listening to Sutty last week, I honestly think now the key is just keeping your heads and trusting his process. He's the guy that has to answer to it in the end. And I watched that Wycombe game, Rich, and Dobson was limping to the finish, and Rathbone is struggling. He's got a knock, and Barnett was out, and Revan was out, and Mullin, is itching to go, and he was in training. He completely dismissed this thing about having a bust up with Parky, and Okonkwo's back in. He's back in favour number one. Max has been brilliant. Smith is scoring, but you want Fowle to come in or Marriott. And got to trust everybody now. Everybody's got a role to play, and sometimes that role is that Anthony Ford role that was just training day in, day out hard. And I don't need much incentive to mention him, but Parky did it for me when he brought up to the BBC that he basically wants people like Luke Young in the group training day in, day out, setting the standards. Because you speak to athletes like we do all the time, and I always think it's such a cliche, but they all say it. The hard work is Monday to Friday. That's the hard work. Saturday is just a byproduct of all the things you've been working on. And, it's going to be a lot of hard work now to the finish, and we're going to have to rely on people like McLean, like Matty James, like Fletcher, like O'Connell, people that have been at big clubs in top divisions, that have been in, Champions League, Premier League, Ligue 1 in the case of Fletcher. Got to trust the process. Not just Parky, but these guys as well. They've worked hard. They've got us level on points with second with 9 games to go. Keep the faith.
Yeah. 9 games to go, and we're third in League 1 on points. Hello? Hello? Wake up. Again, that's the thing. We know what we want, and of course I do buy into the fact that I would like to see prettier football at times. I'd like to see us go at teams a bit more and to maybe play a bit more expansive. I'd like to see us bombard the box, have these sways of attack. but we win most weeks, and that is just the fact of the matter. We've said again for years there will come a point where you need to evolve. I do think there's been tactical tweaks to do so. Like we said, the strike force is different now. It's not a case really of little and large. It's like medium and large. Do you know what I mean? You've got these two different sort of profiles of striker. The play is a bit different. We seem to be, quick on the transitions a lot more. There are games where we're a bit more patient. We do tweak the formation now. It's not as if every single game we play exactly the same, even though it feels that way at times. But 9 games left. Why change anything is what you'd almost argue if you've just gone and beaten Wycombe. If it's good enough to beat second away in the league, why would you have to change anything? I know we always want more. We're gluttonous and we've been spoilt rich, but what more can we want? We're going to be here in 5-10 years and we're going to be looking back saying, do you remember when our problem was being third in League One with 9 games to go, and we were saying, is Parky the right man? Are these players actually good enough? When we boil it down to that, it is ridiculous, and it is just about taking every game that comes. And it's also because we need to acknowledge the fact now that we're recording this on the Wednesday. Break the fourth wall. If you're watching this on YouTube, yes, I'm not in the usual attic. I'm away for the week on the Yorkshire East Coast. It was speaking to Sooty on last week's podcast. It just inspired ourselves to sort of go on this spontaneous holiday. So yeah, I'm in a.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Right now, I'm enjoying myself because I had a nice beer. I had a Jubel, which the Manchester Reds will know about. When we went down to Wycombe, shout out to Guy for driving on Saturday. Loz was drinking Jubel, which is this peach-infused beer, session
right.
beer. Very refreshing. It's like having a Lipton iced tea and a Foster's in the same sort of can.
Can we just
nice
well firstly apparently I was going to say apparently Lipton are discontinuing the peach iced tea.
Peach,
so I don't know if you break that to Loz or whatever, but you might need to.
No. But I also had one of those moments. When you just eat like a massive grab bag of crisps to yourself and you have that sort of self-loathing. You get about halfway through. You get one third of the way through the packet, and you're like, "Well, I'm not going to finish these." And then you get to halfway, and you're like, "I need to stop eating these now."
Yeah.
And then it gets to about 3/4 of the way through the packet, and you're like, well, I might as well finish them now because you can't leave that many crisps left.
Exactly.
So essentially, I've eaten enough salt and vinegar twists to feed a family of 4, and my mouth is very dehydrated as well. But
well, Rich, I will take over from you then while you figure out how to solve your dehydrated mouth. What I did want to say,
Wycombe won on Tuesday night.
Yes, but what I did want to say is shout out to anybody who was on supporter coach number 4. I was on supporter coach number 2 down to Wycombe. Supporter coach number 4, friend of the pod, James Kelly, was on that. I bade him farewell at Wycombe. I said, all the best. Enjoy, safe travels home. To which he got home at 3:00 in the morning because the bus broke down, I think, half a mile away from Wycombe's ground at Adams Park.
Yeah.
They had to wake a driver up to come and collect them from Warwick Services, where they made it eventually. Apparently, the AA or RAC man who came to check the engine gave a lift to a couple of lads to go and get some cans of beer from the shop nearby because they were so delayed. And there were also apparently a couple of Americans trying to get to Manchester Airport for 2:30 a.m. It was just a disaster. So if anyone was on Coach 4 and anyone from the club is listening, hopefully you can do something for those guys, because I know James is going to Exeter soon. That's another horrendous coach journey pending. So yeah, if you're on Coach 4, I know we did get a few messages on Instagram about it. I feel your pain. I wasn't on it, thankfully, but credit to you, top red points, because these journeys are long now. Exeter on a Saturday is a long old trip. Cambridge on a Tuesday night is a long old trip. Where else have we got to go away from home? Wigan's an early kickoff. I know it's not as far.
Lincoln's one last day for the promotion party. But again, on that as well, because we've been very critical of atmosphere this season. I thought the away end was really bouncing on Saturday as well. Yeah. I thought it was really good noise as well. I know there's always going to be a bit of a different mix sort of supporters going to away games. You get a lot of Southern fans, you get lots of London Reds, lots of the South Walian Reds as well. Also get a contingent who travel from Wrexham as well. But yeah, I thought it was fantastic, and we gave a game where like we said, so much happened off the pitch, and there was so much where we gave such a good account of ourselves, both on and off the pitch that day. I thought, but both clubs did really. I thought our away support was exceptional, and again, fantastic, absolutely fantastic day to be a part of. But we went above Wycombe. They then responded with a 3-2 victory over Rotherham on Tuesday night. Looked like, they might lose, then looked like they might draw, and then the sucker punch, 2 goals in 5 minutes at the end just to give them that cushion. The worry is, Nath, pesky old goal difference. Could that be the factor this season? Again, that is maybe why some of these questions aren't as silly as they seem. As much as we want to say, look, we're winning matches, there does come a point where you say, well, you might need to win matches by quite a big margin if you're going to win it on goal difference. So, yeah. What do you think of it? Do you think it will go down to goal difference?
We're not going to be flawless, Rich, in the running, and they're not going to be flawless. I actually was. I don't know about you. Maybe we caught Wycombe on an off day. I watched the Rotherham game as well. They aren't Birmingham. They aren't incredible. They don't put fear into. They shouldn't put fear into us. Maybe, and I know Wrexham's players would say, well, Birmingham don't put fear into us, but they thoroughly outclassed us at St Andrews. Wycombe did not outclass us at Adams Park by any stretch of the imagination. I know they were missing.
We've done the double over them.
Yeah, I know we've done the double over them. I know they were missing Kone. They were mitigating circumstances. It's the first game of the season, and then they didn't have their main man this time. But they're not unbeatable, and they will lose games in the running. But I would have to say it would be devastating to lose out on goal difference now. It honestly, that would be so crushing, because you just look back at the moments where maybe you've conceded one or you've given away a cheap goal, and everything would come crawling back. We've got games coming up now. If we look at the 9 games we've got, Rich, Stockport, we lost to them in the reverse. Exeter, we lost to Stockport 1-0, didn't we, in the reverse? Exeter, we beat 3-0. Cambridge, we drew 2-2. Burton, we beat 1-0. If you look at a result of that, Elliot Lee straight from the corner, I think it was. We've then got Wigan, who we beat 1-0 or 2-1. Might have been 2-1. Yeah. I think Joe Hugo scored 2-1. Then it's Bristol Rovers. We drew 1-1 there. Who else? We got Blackpool. We beat again 2-1. Was that Ashley Fletcher scored early? That's Blackpool. Charlton. We drew 1-1, 2 each. Was
2-2?
2-2. And then Lincoln. What was the Lincoln result? I feel like that was a Tuesday night. We won 1-0. I feel like.
Yeah, it was. I mean, sorry, I lost count there in my head, but is that like 18 points we got from the reverse fixtures? I think, off the top of my head.
Something like that, yeah. I wasn't counting it out, yeah. But there's a good few draws in there.
I wouldn't be surprised if you almost matched that again now, if we got sort of 18 points from the last 27.
That'll get us up. 18 will get us up, I think.
Yeah.
I think 18 will do it.
That's also what almost makes my peace, and this is going to sound so pessimistic. This will annoy some people, but it also does. I know the stakes will get very high at some point, but it kind of has given me a bit of a sane mind in case we were to lose one of these upcoming matches. Because I'm like, well, there's still this amount of points I think will be enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think you could almost drop 9 points, which would conversely say you could win 6 and lose as many as 3 and still potentially go up.
This sounds ridiculous. Crazy. This sounds ridiculous, Rich. I just don't think you can lose Saturday, because if you say, for example, the gap between us and Stockport right now is 6 points on level games. I think if you can beat Stockport on Saturday, you take that to a 9-point gap with 8 games to go. Yeah. Psychologically, I think they are already checking out for the playoffs. I think they've checked out at that point, because we're expecting. And also remember, Wycombe are not playing on Saturday. So you need to land the blow again. You need to crank up the pressure. We've spoken for weeks about the hunter and the hunted. And for now, we're still the hunter. I'm okay in that position. But it's going to get to 8 games and 7 games and 6 games and 5 games and yada, yada, yada. And eventually, you're going to have to strike a blow. We struck one at Wycombe. They responded. Credit to them. That was a massive win that for them. The fact that we went into the chair. What did they call it? The Chair Metropolis or whatever that their flag is.
Was it?
Welcome. No, it was like Welcome to the Chair Metropolis. That was what it was called, which sounds like a furniture store that you would expect to find in Wycombe Town Centre. But you get that 9-point buffer, and look at it. Is it Wycombe have got to play Huddersfield as their next game, I think, or Lincoln? It's so all to play for.
Yeah, we've spoken in depth about Wycombe's final 6, which are horrible. And that's again what buys me this piece that I think we said 3 weeks ago on the podcast. If you get past Stockport, still within touching distance, we've, in a weird way, maybe even got the advantage because of the fixture list. Fixtures count for nothing. Every game worth the same amount of points. So you've got to go and get those.
We played better in these bigger games, though. Wycombe, home and away, we've done well in that. Okay, yes, we did lose to Stockport 1-0. We should have beaten Charlton. That was our own fault at their place. I mean, who else is up there? Huddersfield. We went and beat Birmingham. We lost in the away game, but we were very good in the home game. Could have won that. Bolton, we haven't lost to all season.
No, my argument on that would still be that we could easily have lost to Wycombe and Huddersfield playing the exact same way that we did.
True, but I'm saying that my point is that Cambridge and that Reading performance scared the life out of me a little bit. I'll be honest, and you can have bad days. I get that. And this is a positive one because we've gone and beaten Wycombe. Super Sammy Smith, who's got his chant going every game now. He wins the ball, he scores the goal. Sammy Smith, that was ringing out at Wycombe. But for me now, I would just love to see a game where we go and win 3-0, maybe Wycombe draw 0-0 or something. That goal difference is scaring me a little bit, and we're running out of opportunities to change it.
Here's a question for you then, because again, as we've been speaking on this podcast, it's such a peculiar one to word without coming across as really entitled and spoiled on this. But if we were to not go up, but if we finished level on points of Wycombe and they finished second, we finished third on goal difference, is that when you'd maybe criticise the style of play? Because you've both got to the same end goal, but you've perhaps gone about it in a slightly different way. Do you think that's a legitimate way to ever? Again, it's the ultimate question of all this: is it fair to criticise the methodology when there's results being produced?
It's so difficult because if we finish joint second, I know we're not second, but we're level on points with second place in our first season back in League One. Can I with a straight face? I'll probably try, but can I with a straight face come on here and say that we should have gone for it? Because ultimately, okay, maybe we could have scored a couple more goals, but are we not pointing to throwing it away at Charlton, not getting over the line at Bristol City?
1 point,
2 points
rather than the goals.
Do you know what I mean? Then I'm probably more looking at missed opportunities, and also who knows the style of play that it might get us over the line in the playoffs. I don't know, and if we don't go up, it's not been a disaster of a season. So let's keep it positive. I still think we will go up. I still think we will get that second spot. I think we've just got a lot of nous, a lot of grafters in there. And, as long as John Daddy and Anthony Ford and James Jones don't come back to ruin us on Sky TV in a couple of weeks, I really am growing in belief. That Wycombe win, I think, was huge for the team spirit to go and land a blow and just keep Wycombe thinking. But, if it happens where we lose out on goal difference and then get bombed out the playoffs by Charlton or someone, I might have to take a sabbatical from the pod because I will not be mentally okay. I'll probably have to go to whatever dark room Rich is in right now in Yorkshire because I wouldn't hack it, honestly.
I must say that this room isn't as dark at sea. Just the lighting setup is very peculiar.
We're going to get you a nice light. We're going to get you a nice light.
Those watching on YouTube, this is essentially the only light I've got. I've got my phone above the laptop, and I've got this faux candle sort of shimmering away to. It's like I'm telling a ghost story or something.
Very Beauty and the Beast of you. We're going to get you a light though. We're going to sort out Rich's setup.
Yeah, we will sort that at some point.
We will get it. But Rich, come on then. Just because we'll see this out now, because you can get back to your holiday, and I have got an early flight to catch to France. Are you, after what's happened, Reading and I know you've discussed that last week, but Reading and Wycombe, 2 games against 2 teams in and around the playoffs, if not in the automatics. Are you more confident now or less confident about us going up automatically?
I am more confident about Wrexham's chances of getting promoted. But I'm also more worried about the chasing pack than I've ever been before. Because I think we said at the turn of the year, we both said, I think, we thought it was going to be Wrexham and Huddersfield going for second spot. I think, that was kind of the picture at the time. Right now, and this, again, if this gets clipped, this will annoy the right people. I'm sorry for this. I'm more worried about Charlton than I am about Wycombe.
So am I. They are on a motor. And I'm going to do what you normally do, which is check the League One form guide, because it feels like they've won every game. That's what it feels like at the minute. I mean, they are, over the past 6 matches, they are unbeaten, 16 points out of a possible 18. Yeah, they are the best in class, ahead of Birmingham. If I stretch that out to 8 games, where are they there? Top again over the last 8 games. They've only lost once, and that was to Birmingham. And if I even stretch it out to the past 10 games, I mean, they are flying. Okay, in the last 10 games, they're second only to Birmingham, level on points, but with, I don't know why they're second. I mean, it looks like they've got the exact same goals scored, or exact same goals against. So joint first over the past 10 games. Alphabetical order, there you go. So yeah, Charlton,
won't do us any favours in the table.
No.
It was against Wycombe, though.
So here you go.
That would be a good way to get promoted, doesn't it?
So Rich, if I offered you this now, and listeners, if I offered you this, and I'm not guaranteeing you the result here, but Charlton at home, the final home game of the season, barring any playoff, a penultimate game of the campaign. If I gave you now Wrexham against a flying Charlton, essentially winner will secure, all but secure, automatic the second spot. Would you take that, or would you rather just hope we've got it done by then?
Write me the check right now. I am taking that. Of course, I'm taking that.
You don't know. Go another Notts County-esque and just get Ben Foster back.
No, give it to me. Just if even now we're talking with 9 games left. If Wrexham is still with a shout of automatic promotion with 2 games left, what a season it's been! What a journey we were on! The
channel Sutty, keep your
season.
heads. That's what he said, and all the YouTube comments were like, "I like this guy. I like Sutty. He's got common sense."
Yeah,
I wasn't on it, so it made a lot more sense.
Yeah, it was a good pod. It was a good podcast. I'd also like to give a shout out to a guy called Tim I met, who was from Winchester, who was at the Wycombe game. I was going to give him a shout out earlier. He went with his 2 kids. Who this is very sort of Nathan Salt or James Kelly as well. He's got 2 little kids. I think they were, I'm guessing, sort of 6 or 7. They've been to watch Wrexham at, I think, Maidstone, Maidenhead, Aldershot, Wycombe, Eastleigh, all these East Coast teams. They've never been to the racecourse.
That feels very me and James Kelly. Just go everywhere but the home.
Tim's originally from Pentre Broughton, but his kids, I think, have been sort of brought up down south. And he said it's very difficult now for them to get tickets up north. But he said, they've been to all these horrible Southern away games. And
Maidenhead is the one that the fact that Rob and Ryan have been there is just sensational.
Yeah.
Because that is anyway, look, big game, Stockport, rounders out. What do we think? I think we will draw against Stockport this weekend. We usually do well against them at home. Usually the home team always wins. But they're good. They're very solid, and they're difficult to break down. They got a good win away at Bolton last time.
I also feel like they're externally. I feel like they've almost got better now. In a weird way, they lost their best player in Louis Barry with the recall, but I think they almost become more of a sum of their parts again, which they used to be. Do you know what I mean? They used to always just have, similar to us. I know in the non-league years we were still the sort of Paul Mullen team, but it feels like we've got goal threats all across the pitch when we're at our best. And I think that's the same with them. If I wouldn't be looking at the Stockport game this weekend. At the start of the season, if Louis Barry had a bad game, they wouldn't have beaten us. He had a good game, they won. But this weekend, I think they're now in a position where if someone doesn't have a good game, well, someone else might step up. I feel they're very similar to us again, which is horrible to say because the faux rivalry and all that crap and that nonsense.
They're probably not going to fly a plane over. They're probably not going to fly a plane over this time, though, are they? They love doing that and doing all these random gestures.
Yeah, they might wait till the end of the season for that. But yeah, I think it's again, it's one of those games where I don't think as long as we don't lose this weekend, I will almost have no complaints with the performance, whatever. I don't care how attritional it is. I don't care how few shots we have, how low the possession is. Like you said, with the way the table is right now, losing to them would just give us such a blow. It'd leave it wide open for themselves and Charlton to overtake us potentially. And there'll be a lot of psychology behind the scenes. So the beauty of football is this time next week our mood to be very different. But
I just want to say
I have the faith that we'll be able to get something from it.
Yeah, I just want to say before you sort of like read out the closing remarks, I'm going to say closing statements. I know you look like you're in an interrogation room. It's not that serious. He's not actually in the dock. If anyone's watching, I just want to say, I know people are looking out for opposition previews and whatnot. It's just a really hectic time. So I know I probably should. I don't have to come on and apologise, but I am going to apologise. It's very hectic. I'm in and out of the country. We're doing our best. That's all I want to say. I know people are not going
let's
to
tell us
moan.
what's your week you've got ahead. So I'm off all
So-
week. This is holiday time right now.
Yeah, so
and
you're
what's
off.
yours
But
looking like?
I am on basically a 5:50 a.m. flight to France to cover the 21. So I'm racing all over France to cover the 21s. Fly back in time to cover them at home against Portugal, and then I'm off to Seville to do a few bits over there on the derby over there against Real Betis, and a bit on loads of things going on. So. And I've just come back from Spain, and before that where was I? Athens. So my head is spinning. Wrexham are continuing to keep me a little bit sane. Wham bam, thank you, Sam. At Sam Smith at Wycombe. I had a great time at Wycombe. Love seeing people, the London Reds again, and various other folk. It's always I get so many positive endorphins, Rich. Just going to the games and seeing the old faces and seeing new ones as well that are brought along. But yeah, I know I don't have to give some kind of groveling apology, but I am. Hopefully things settle down a bit soon and I can sort of get back to trying to get you opposition previews and whatnot. But for now, you got Rich in interrogation room 1, me in Manchester for about another 2 hours, and then I'll be off. So hang in there, and we appreciate all your support, all the people commenting on YouTube, emailing like Max did at robbrownred@gmail.com, and all the socials. We passed 10,000 followers on TikTok this week, Rich, which was, really appreciative. And yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, I know we say this a lot as well, but we will try to read some emails out again. We do read them all out on our spare time. Today's not possible because my phone is my light, my camera, and I daren't touch the laptop with this sort of dodgy setup. So, yeah, Stockport this weekend. If Wrexham can avoid defeat, then they're right in the mix as well. And 9 games left.
Come on.
Sometimes you have to take stock, don't you, Nath? And yeah, we'll take Stockport as well. Thank you very much to Red 10 People Development for the continued support of the podcast. Thank you as well to Wrexham-based band Hypnotic for the music, the stings we hear in the show. Take care wherever you are. Back the boys, make some noise, and we'll see you next time.
The Wrexham AFC podcast with Nathan Salt and Rich Bay.